So what do you do when you have a website that you've just purchased and you want to quickly flip it, say in 6 to 12 months? What are some really quick strategies you can implement to grow that website potentially up to 10x? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this interview today with Mushfiq Sarkar from EasyWins.io. He also has a website flipping newsletter at thewebsiteflip.com. So Mushfiq has been buying and selling websites for about 10 years. We go into his background. He tells his entire story of how he got started in college and his first exit, where he really learned about the entire industry, that it was even possible to sell a website. And since then, he's done something like 175 deals, and he's really honed in on a process that can quickly grow a website. And so I'm going to let Mushfiq share all of his strategies for what you can implement for growing the monetization, growing the traffic, overall just improving the site so that you can turn around and sell that quickly if you want. But what's really cool about this interview is that Mushfiq and I sit down and we look at owntheyard.com. This is my niche site project site that's been publicly revealed for a long time. And he actually walks through the quick and easy wins that I could be applying to that site to help it grow. And so not only is it cool for me to see, but I think seeing a live example is going to be really beneficial to you if you want to apply some of the same principles to your own site. So again, if you want to follow along with Mushfiq, you can go to thewebsiteflip.com, where he writes his newsletter with in-depth tips and strategies and that sort of thing. But also right now, if you go through the link nichepursuits.com/easywins, again, that's nichepursuits.com/easywins, you can get his database of really quick and easy wins. It's something like 120 easy strategies that you can apply to your website to grow it very quickly. And so with that, I hope that you enjoy the interview. Hey, Mushfiq, welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. You're somebody that I've sort of been aware of and seen some of the things that you've been doing with buying and selling sites and your investment newsletter and other things like that, but we've never really connected. And so I wanted to be able to have you on the podcast to get your story and to introduce you to, the Niche Pursuits listeners, and then also any tips and strategies, of course, that you can share are great for building and growing niche sites. So having said that, why don't you just provide a brief introduction to people that are unaware of who you are, what's kind of your professional background, and things that you were doing before you were ever sort of building websites.
Right. Yeah, no, thank you. So I started in 2008. That's when I built my first website. So I was in college doing my undergrad and wanted to make some extra money. So, how to make money online, smart passive income, that loophole, rabbit hole, getting into that, and started my first website on Blogspot.
Nice.
Platform, and then, went into WordPress and had some first successes. I started a website in the voice over internet protocol, VoIP, like I was promoting Skype and those kind of companies when they were very, very young, and they actually paid affiliate commissions, which they don't now. And so I did that for about 2 years. In 2009, end of 2009, early 2010, I was approached by a company out of Australia that wanted to just buy the website. I had no idea that you could sell websites. I don't think Flippa was around during that time. Flippa was its original platform, SitePoint. So there was no market. There was no nice way to sell a website. And I didn't know. So they gave me an offer. I'm like, okay, I'm a college student, it's sophomore year. And it's like, okay, I'm going to sell it, right?
Yeah,
so
take the money.
Exited that website. And now that brand is Slashdot Media. So they own SourceForge, Slashdot. and a lot of these companies in the VoIP space. So anyways, success. But from then I saw that flipping websites is legit. It's a real business. So since then, I've done 175 transactions. That includes buying, selling, and brokering. Mostly buying and selling. So I buy, grow, and then sell the websites. My whole cycle can be as low as 3 months to as high as 1.5 years to hold a website. So I've done a lot of transactions on Flippa. I'm a super seller on there. So I have 135 transactions on Flippa, and the rest are private through Empire Flippers or the different brokerages or through my own network who brings me a deal. I like it. What my specialty is in quick cash offers. So close quickly, move fast, don't ask too many questions. I do my due diligence quickly. So it's not like a lengthy process for the seller. It's very quick. We can close within 48 hours. So anyways, that's just what has happened. And through this process, I've learned a lot. I apply it to my own portfolio. And recently I started a newsletter. I've had a following for a while that's been somewhat private. I email them deals, they buy from me, they share, their insights. But I've sort of structured that into a newsletter that started in April and has grown very nicely, where I share active case studies on a weekly basis, private deal flow that I get through my network. And also every Monday, I like to share what's happening in the market, which websites are for sale, some opportunities, and my due diligence on those. I just help people out on buying their next website. So yeah.
Awesome. Great background. Give people an idea of what you're involved with. Very active buying and selling websites and just investing in the website space. So to go back to that first deal, are you willing to share how much you sold that first site for?
Yeah, 25,000 into the.
Nice. Yeah. That's a pretty nice exit for a college student, right?
Yeah, paid off some loans and got me set up for life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And so what sort of is the typical price range of sites that you kind of play in?
Yeah, I like to focus on sites less than $50,000. And the reason is that I have seen those are easier to move the needle. There's a lot of quick things to do on those. They're usually built, the main reason is they're usually built by first timers or somebody who's maybe building a second or third site, and maybe even hobbyists that really like that topic. They can't get it to the 6-figure range because they just don't have the monetization strategy in place or the SEO strategy. So these are usually high traffic, good websites. They've been taken care of, and I buy those, apply all the tactics, and then I can 10x the growth. And we'll have a case study on that we can talk about. But yeah, so less than 50K is my sweet spot. I've done very small deals, like less than 10K, just really quick flips, 2 months, and then sell just to get the income up, and then some buyer is ready to get on that, so to continue growing it.
Yeah. So why do you focus on such short-term holds? Obviously you're doing quick wins, things that you can apply immediately, but why not hold longer than 1.5 years?
So I do hold. So I have a 2-pronged strategy.
Okay.
My first is, since I've done so many transactions, I have found some verticals that I'm very interested in personally, and also I see a future in. So those websites I keep in my portfolio, and to build essentially an influencer media company around a specific vertical. I have 2 verticals right now that I'm building out. So and then on the side, I'm always buying and flipping sites, and the ones that meet the criteria of the vertical, I bundle up into that structure because I have a dedicated writing team on those niches, and they know their stuff. So I can always add another website, and it's really easy for my team to just crank out content because it's similar content. So those are long-term. I have 2 or 3 year visions on that. And my goal now is to sell those to bigger media companies, right? Bigger exits, not at the typical 30 to 40X, maybe 50 to 70X, something that, it's going to really move the needle. And those websites have email lists, they have social traffic, they're very well built out. And then I have the ones on the side and those are authority sites, so we can put those on a different bucket, right? And then there's the niche sites. There's smaller sites that I buy them because I see instant wins, that I have a team of operators that I've sort of trained up. They're all around the world. I can put one of those on there with me being the manager per se,
Mm-hmm.
and they can grow that out. And some of them get equity, so it works out for them. And we can then flip them within 6 months. It's not that they're bad size; it's just they don't fit into my vision for a long-term vertical that I want to dominate. Does that make sense?
It does. That makes a lot of sense. So how big is your team?
So I have currently, nobody is full time. I don't have anybody on payroll. I work with on and off about 2 to 3 operators that I have worked with over the years. They've started as VAs and they kind of showed interest and they've been trained up. My writing team spans anywhere from 5 to 10, and they're constantly given content. They're not like on payroll, but they're always working for me. And then I have general VAs, 2 or 3 of them that do formatting and editing. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And are you doing this full time?
I am not, no.
So I just find that interesting. You've still got a job that you're working at, but somehow you're able to do all this on the side, right?
Yeah, it's delegation, processes, and management, right? So I like to do things in sprints. So I'm an engineer, so I focus on sprints. So when I buy a website, I don't just let it sit. I know what easy wins and quick wins are there. I spend a lot of time up front, and that could be nights, weekends, just cranking those out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just fixing those. And then once that happens, since I buy right, just like in any other investment, you make your money when you buy. You don't make it when you sell, right? So buy right, buy at the lowest price possible, or buy with opportunity already baked in that right? And then apply those things and then wait. And then I can wait 3 months to really see that income growth. And then I decide if I want to spend more time, put a team member on that or sell, right? So it's kind of structured that way.
Yeah. So let's give people an idea of something that you've done recently, perhaps maybe a recent success story of a site that you bought and sold, or kind of the story of sort of something you've done recently here.
Yeah, sure. So just this year, April, bought a site from Flippa. So I'm constantly on Flippa looking for the good deals. I bought it for $23,000, and it was making $300. Now that's a 75x multiple. Now I'll get to why, right? But I see quick wins, right? I don't care how much I'm paying. As long as it's less than 50K, it's within my budget, I'm willing to pay a premium to just lock in the deal. So that site had 100,000 visitors monthly, okay, making $300 in the outdoor niche. So I know that's way too low. So after due diligence, we closed quickly. He was not willing to lower the price. He just wanted 23K for some reason. I said, okay, let's just do it, right? So I did it. Within 1 month after I applied my techniques, it jumped to 3K. 3,000.
3K. Right? Wow.
So it's finding those needles in the haystack, and they don't come up often, right? But when they do, I am ready to go, right? I will buy it. I don't waste time. 24-hour close, get the deal.
Right. So part of it is you don't necessarily value the site on what it was earning, but its potential, right? The quick wins that you see that you can get it to 3,000 or whatever.
Yeah. And the website's been around since 2010. And I was, as I said, it's built by a hobbyist. So somebody who put their heart and soul into it, not a niche website builder, right?
Right.
So they want some exit that kind of makes sense for them. And I see opportunity. So I close. And right now that website, I think last month made 7,000.
Wow.
So it's going good. And that has been put into my new vertical play in the outdoor niche that I'm building out more sites and acquiring more sites around that.
So what were some of the quick wins that you were able to apply there?
Yeah, so very simple ones were that a lot of pages were getting traffic, but did not have Amazon or affiliate links on them. So that was easy.
Do you find that happens a lot? Yeah. Do you find that there's a lot of sites like that just are under monetized?
Oh, yes. I can. So any platform right now, say Motion Invest, Empire Flippers, Flippa, there's plenty of sites that there's 2 subsets, right? There's people who are like us who build websites, right? But there's always a few things that they miss because maybe they moved on to another project, or maybe they have Maybe they just don't have that skill set. So there's always opportunity. And then there's the hobby-based sites. So there's much more opportunity in those, right? Because those people are doing it for passion, not for finance or money, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in every site. It's just which ones are going to move the needle 10x. So I'm looking for 10x growth after 3 months. I structure my process where I have a growth stage, a maintenance, a growth stage, a stabilization stage, and a maintenance stage, right? So in the growth stage, it's a sprint to get that income up, right? So 300 to 3,000, right? And then it's stabilization, which is doing on-page techniques, tweaking the keywords, structuring the on-site categories and whatnot. And that gets it, and then adding more and more and more content. And that gets it to the 6K to the 7K. And that's what stage I'm in right now, because it's December. So it's in the stabilization stage now. Yeah.
So a lot of the sites that you buy, are you doing a lot of sort of these quick technical things versus adding a ton of content? I'm just kind of curious, are you always adding a lot of content, or is it sometimes just adding, display ads when there wasn't any and doing other things like that?
So I always add content. I am a SEO, so my content is king. So focus on that. I'm not very focused on social. So content, as soon as I buy a site, I'm hiring on Upwork. That's my platform to get my dedicated writers. I hire niche experts, beginner niche experts, so I don't have to pay them a premium, and get them on board and get the content. I do the keyword research. I do all of that. So I'm posting about, initially on this website was about 100 articles a month, and now it's down to 50. And these are, a ton of content. Last month I published 55, I believe. So content is always there, but with the content is, you let it marinate for a while, it starts getting up there in the search engine rankings, right? And then optimization happens after that. I don't spend much time early on to fix up the articles for conversions and, revenue, because there's no point. Later on, when they start ranking, I do that. So yeah, content, but the EasyWins doesn't happen from just the content day one, because it takes time, right? It's from the existing content, existing traffic, monetizing that better with affiliate links or display ads or video ads, or just fixing some things on the website that put the focus of the visitor on the stuff you want them to focus on. It's user experience, right?
So you created something called EasyWins.io that is a lot of the principles that you apply. Why don't you explain why you created it and kind of what it is?
Yeah, so EasyWins.io, it's a database of right now about 120 strategies that I have learned over the years. I've applied these are tested through my websites and through the websites that I have seen. Essentially, they're categorized into revenue strategies that up your revenue immediately, traffic strategies, on-page strategies, off-page strategies, some basic things that you should do for every website, and then website structure to make sure your website's properly structured. And so they're categorized like that. They're also categorized by the impact they'll have on your website. Is it a very high impact strategy that will really move the needle, or it's something lower? And then also how much effort it will take from my perspective to do. Is it a manual task, or it's a plugin you can just install and be ready to go? So so essentially the reason I built this is because I've seen, there's a lot of courses out there. They're very well made. They get the beginners to a level where they can start building niche sites. There's a lot of marketplaces where you can sell a site, right? You can sell it for good multiples, cash out. But there's nothing in the middle that helps a niche website builder or an investor, right? Take a website and just fine tune it to squeeze out every dollar, right, out of every visitor that comes to a site, position that website for a sale that's going to get them their maximum value. So it's bridging the gap between those two, ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Now I have access, to it. You were kind enough to let me check it out, so I know what it's all about. But for the benefit of the listener, this is not a course, right? I mean,
no.
This is really just very tactical tips, right?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't want to make a course because all of these things, if you are in the industry long enough, you'll learn these over time, right?
Mhm.
It's for that person, let's say it's not for a beginner that's starting day one. I don't recommend it for a beginner. I recommend it for somebody who has one site, maybe a couple sites, that's earning money and has traffic, right? From organic or social, doesn't matter, has traffic. And they're looking for which are the 5 or 10 things I can do to take my site that's making $500 to $1,000, right? Something quick. So it's very actionable tips that they can apply tomorrow and see the growth.
Right. I love that. It makes it super simple to just see what the exact tips are. You don't have to, watch a bunch of videos or whatever. Just read the one line tip, like
Exactly.
add tables to your
Yeah.
articles that are promoting
in
it.
there,
Right.
I actually provide a description of why this will work, right? And also example screenshots from different websites that are doing this very well. Some of them are my websites, and some of them are the very quality websites that I've seen. And then I also have a column there for the tool you can use to get that done quickly. So it's pretty much, it's not a hand-holding thing. I don't show you with video how to do it. I expect the person that has a couple niche websites, they know how to implement things. It's just actionable things. Check them off one at a time, and then track your growth and see what worked, and do that on other websites.
Yeah. And so we sort of chatted before our interview here. We thought it would be cool to actually go through a live example. And so I've offered up my site, owntheyard.com. I am sure there are things that can be improved on that site. Like, I'm 100% sure. So I think this will be super beneficial for, me, but for listeners, I hope going through a live example, they can kind of understand what are some easy, quick wins that can be applied to websites. So having said that, let's jump into Own the Yard. I'd love to hear what you see on the site that can be improved or changes that I can make that would be those quick wins. And so hopefully people can kind of take this example and apply it to their own site, seeing this live example. So I'll let you kind of jump into it.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, this will be really interesting. A few caveats is that, these are not set in stone, right? All websites are not going to have success doing all these tweaks. I've been seeing them have these tactics have been, seen over 175 websites that I have done deals on, but also ones that I've seen in the industry being sold because I'm an active buyer. I'm looking at all the deal flow. So, these tactics may not work for you. So just pick the ones that make sense and apply those in the database, right?
Right.
So I did an audit of your website just to, and made a list of them. So I'll just go through what I've made. So, the overall site, very well done. It has the basics. You have the Amazon monetization, Ezoic monetization. So those are the big ones.
Okay.
So there's some few things where you can tweak to get a bit more revenue in my opinion. So you have two types of content. You have the info content, and then you have the buying guide content. So, and then you have the categorical pages and then the home page. So kind of break that up, and let's focus on maybe your best croquets. You're actually ranking well for that.
Yes,
and
I am.
It brings in good revenue.
Yep.
So one thing I love is reduce distraction for the user. So you've done a good job by removing the sidebar here. I saw that compared to your other articles. So that's good because you want them to focus, right?
Yep.
The funnel.
Yep.
The other thing is I like to remove as much white space as possible between the navigation and the content. So you have some white space here in the top. There's no reason to have that. You can move things up so that we want to put everything above the fold as much as possible, because that's how you're going to get your biggest ad revenue, but also the visitor is going to focus, right?
Yeah.
A few quick ones is featured images do provide, a user, they scroll through when they see a featured image, it gets them engaged. So what I like to do with featured image though, is that when it's so big on the screen, right when you enter, it diminishes all the content up below. One is your ad revenues will be lower because it's pushed down. Everything's pushed down. Second is if the image is not customized, so you can use Canva or something to kind of put your logo on there and make it more customized, that attracts the user more. But what I like to do on desktop is make the image a medium-sized image, so 300 by 300, and right align it on the second paragraph. So you would move the image down on the second paragraph and right align it. That solves two things. One, you're pushing your content up, so your comparison tables go up and the user can see it quicker. Two, is that now the image is still there, so that purpose is solved. But what happens on mobile is that on mobile, when somebody comes on the website, right, the first thing they see is the title and this image. They don't see the content, the first one paragraph, what they're here for, really. So I like to put it on the second spot. So what happens is you see the title, then you see a sentence, which has your keywords maybe, and just a catch, like getting them involved in the content. And then you see the featured image, and then it's everything else, right? So that's the structure that I have followed. And with heat map testing, that has shown to be a much better user experience.
Yeah, great tip.
Yeah. So other things is I like to remove dates because I don't want them to show up in the SERPs. So I only show the author by author, and extra things I do. These are not quick wins, but I do them. Is I add a image of the author right next to their name just to make it more special.
More professional. Yeah.
So if we just keep scrolling,
why don't you want to have the dates in the SERPs? If they're new dates, is that good?
New
but
dates
if they're
good.
old dates is bad.
Old dates is bad. Yeah. So if you can figure out some way to just only show the new dates past, maybe August or half the year, that's okay. I don't do that. So I just remove all the dates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So other things, table of contents, you can add a plugin to have a table of contents added. That has shown when I have table of contents in my articles, they show up in the SERPs right under my meta description, just clickable point. And that's just taking up more real estate in the SERPs and getting you more traffic. It's a very easy win to do.
Yep.
Then now we're getting into like, the actual things that will move the needle. So comparison tables, great job, must, you have to have them. I don't like to show price on any part of my article ever. The reason is I want them to click through to Amazon as much as possible. Showing the price sets them off, maybe if it's a high price product or something. The idea is to cookie the customer so that whatever they buy on Amazon, which they're going to buy something, you get credit for.
Right.
The other things is I'm very focused. I've seen call to action buttons, right? I'm very focused on making sure those are the right color combo with the site, right? Your site's color is white on blue, right? So your CTAs on your comparison table is blue. So it kind of blends in with all the other stuff. So I would make it a drastically different color like red. And you've done it well in this Amazon AWP box of green. So that's fine.
Yeah.
I would say this table, a blue would get you higher.
You're probably right. I've done some testing a little bit with different colors, but 100% agree.
Yeah. So if we keep going, in content, like content links to Amazon work very well. I didn't see many of those, so you could probably like the Go Sport Premium, link that to Amazon, you get higher click-through rate.
Yeah.
And another thing I've seen is buy now. The wording of your call to action buttons, right, are critical. So I always like to use check price, latest price, check latest price. That doesn't, that doesn't scare the user that if I click this, am I gonna check out, right? Because when you say buy now, it's very demanding.
Sounds like you're buying it. Yeah.
I have to make it, just make it really, soft tone so that I just want them to click through, do their own research and buy. So that's something that has worked for me. So we keep going down. The structure of your articles are fine. That there's nothing wrong with that. So the CTA button here, make that red or make that orange or yellow. It's gonna get their eyes focused.
Stop worrying about making my website have a perfect theme that all goes together, right?
Yeah. So you don't want that, right? So for example, one of my websites is light brown, right? But my call to actions are yellow. That tone works very well. For you, what would work very well is you have a blue colored site and white, maybe like red or green. Green, you had green, that works very well too, because you have an outdoor site, so the green kind of sticks out.
Okay.
So if we keep going, let's see. So you have at the bottom, I believe you have Amazon native ads. check the stats of those. I have personally seen they don't work. Very low conversion rates compared to everything else, like comparison tables on the site. You have AAWP, so you can actually put, they have one structure is like you put 3 products side to side and showcase the 3 best product, and that actually gets much higher click through. So just an idea.
Yeah.
So there is a subset of users, we want people to come into the site and stay a little bit and click through, but there's a huge subset of people that actually read the content all the way to the very end, which is what we want them to do. Come to the wrap up and verdict or conclusion section. And so what I like to do is add my best recommended product with the AAWP product box at the very end. You have the links, which is great, but also a product box to really get them to click through, right? And then just some on-page things, adding related posts at the very end, so that if they're not interested in this article, they can go to other articles. You have I think, navigation type, or previous article and next article, but some related content at the very end. So that's the buying guide. I mean, this looks fine. It's just small tweaks, right? That can really, even when you're getting a lot of traffic, that small tweak makes a lot of.
Yeah, especially when you're getting a lot of traffic. And so that brings me to a question so I've got a lot of articles on this site. Me thinking about making even those minor tweaks to all of my buying guides feels like a lot of work. Should I do it to every single one of them? What's your recommendation?
No, you should not. So in the EasyWins, I tell people to focus on your top 10.
Okay.
Yeah, top 10 buying guides that get the most traffic. That's going to move the needle. And then over time, I track every month. I track which articles are getting more and more traffic. And then once they go above a threshold where I kind of have a sense that, okay, maybe in this niche, having more than 500 visitors to an article, I probably should put more focus on that and fine tune it, right? You just have to figure out for your niche what makes sense, what the threshold is, and then put more focus on that.
Yeah,
but some of the changes, like, AAWP product boxes, it's universal, right? You just change it once.
That's true.
Like the colors, removing the pricing, but the CTA buttons, the check price, that's a manual process. So,
right. I just don't like to work too much, right? So
of course,
focus on the bigger wins, the bigger traffic.
Exactly. And when in the EasyWins, I tell people, there's 2 ways to organize that database to focus on the top 5 things. You can organize the table from very high impact things and then focus on those 5, because that's going to move the needle the most. And then over time, go through every single one, right? It's what moves the needle fast, and then slowly over time. Some people are flippers like me. We just do the top 10, 5 things, and then just get the income up in a sell, because the other things are diminishing time, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go over one of your, I believe it's one of your info articles.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of the income comes from that. So you have Ezoic, great. A few things that I see, you can add a video ad. Not Ezoic has video ads, Mediavine, AdThrive has video ads. I use a different platform called X.co, Playbuzz, which is another platform.
I've heard of them.
Dedicated.
I've never used them.
Dedicated. Yeah, I make as much money from my outdoor site specifically. It's niche dependent. I make as much money from those video ads, which is the bottom right corner of the screen, than I do from a display ad. So it's pretty much, it's a lot. It can be a lot depending on the niche, right? So the one thing is, they have a minimum traffic requirement, but they have made exceptions. So you can kind of explain that I have a portfolio, I'll over time get you more traffic, but they want like 1 million visitors, but they make exceptions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
People. Yeah. Otherwise, the big ad networks have their own video ads.
They do.
Services. Another thing that I saw is you should have a sticky ad on the sidebar.
I'm actually surprised that's not there. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the highest RPM that you're going to get. And then the other thing is that since you have your traffic is coming from social, right? And a lot of organic as well. You have a lot of info articles. It's useful for you to add a plugin or use a theme that has infinite scrolling. So what happens with infinite scrolling is if I go all the way to the very bottom right now, I'm going to see your footer, right?
Right.
And it ends right there. but infinite scrolling would open up the next article that's in within the same category. So people can just keep scrolling. And some of the biggest websites use them, for example, some of the search engine like news magazines like SE Roundtable, SE Search Engine Journal. So I like to see what those guys are doing, because if they're doing that, who follow Google and do the news on that, it's kind of, we can do that too. So,
right.
Yeah, so that will increase your ad RPMs and get you more ad revenue. And actually, it's a better user experience, because when they get to the end, they want to keep reading if they like your content, right?
Exactly.
So some of the other smaller things just overall on the site is, I know you're using WP Rocket and all of those plugins. One thing is you're not using WebP images. Your images are still JPEG and PNG. So you can install a plugin called ShortPixel, which I use, and optimize your images. And I'm sure you have that on some site, something like that for image compression. Yeah. But ShortPixel has an option to create a WebP image, right? Which is significantly lower in size. And so your page will load much faster. And because you're an image heavy site, you really do need that. And that then works with WP Rocket and Cloudflare. It's all integrated, so it's very well done. So it's an easy, couple clicks on your settings page. Let's see. So some of the other things, these are not revenue related. Like, I'm building out authority sites, so I want my websites to look like authority, right? These are not going to increase your revenue or quickly, but these are going to set your website up for success, right? The footer is something I do focus on. I like to put a lot of information on my footer, like who we are, if my authors, if they are willing to share their image, their profile photo, I add those in there. I add social icons. I add my about page, privacy page, terms of service, all those pages, and also where have I been featured. Some of the websites I bought have CNN links, Forbes links, like they're very good websites. So I want to showcase that, right?
Yeah.
And so I add that, and that it takes my time or my VA's time, but it's all of these extra tweaks can be done in a day or two, and it's not a significant effort, and it's there forever. It's not day to day, right?
Yep.
So apart from that, I think those are the big ones. And your website's well done. I mean, I see websites that are built by hobbyists that have 10x more quick wins than that. But yeah, so
those are very good tips, and things that I took some notes. I don't know. Anyways, I got like 4 or 5 items here that I'll
send you my notes, because I took notes.
Oh, okay, even better. Of things that I know I can change and do quickly. And sometimes I look at my site, and I asked you this already, and I think, man, it's overwhelming because I got 500 articles and I got to do this. But you named several that I can do once that might take 10 minutes. And it's across my entire site, and I can make that change very quickly. And so I think that's important for people to think about and remember as well, is that as they are trying to improve their site, it doesn't have to be this task that you do every single month or every single week, right? You can do this sprint, like you mentioned, and spend a few hours and probably get some improvement to your site.
Yeah, and I've seen other people use my database, the EasyWins, is they just hand it over to their most trusted VA, tell them to spend time, learn all of that, and then just apply, right? The idea is that, team management, train up your people to kind of take over things that you don't want to do. I actually have things I hate doing on my websites that are very, but I know they move the needle revenue wise, but I just hand it off to a VA and say, okay, you got it. I trust you. So yeah, I mean, look, your website is amazing. It all depends on the user, right? You have other businesses, so the focus on this may not make sense. But for somebody who has a portfolio of 5 sites, maybe a day job, you can keep building sites, which is great. You should, but I say focus on the ones that you already are getting traffic. Then keep, your focus has to be somewhere. So put your focus on the ones that actually get revenue day to day and increase that, because that has a higher chance of your time versus effort to be put on that site than to keep building more sites out that take 12 months to rank, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what sort of opportunity do you see out there? I mean, you are clearly buying lots of sites. Are
Mhm.
there tons of opportunity out there for somebody that wants to replicate your model of, hey, I want to buy a site that has the opportunity to 10x,
Yeah.
in under a year? Is that,
So
yeah.
I buy a website that has a 10x opportunity once a year. So this
Okay.
year, and so I'm looking, right? So this is not a, I love looking at websites for sale. Like that's my hobby, right? So I do
Yeah.
this, I mean, daily. I do it on my phone when I'm just relaxing, right? So I'm on Flippa, on the different platforms. I have seen Empire Flippers, Investors Club, Motion Invest, these platforms have a subset of websites that are honestly built by niche website builders and more of experts, right? Whereas when you have open marketplaces like Flippa, you're going to get websites from people who are passionate about a topic. Maybe they're not really SEO experts like us, right? So
Right.
there's two ends of the spectrum. My best deals were from Flippa. So in 2019, I can give you another example really
Yeah, that'd be
quickly.
great.
I bought a site for 25,000, making $1,000. So that wasn't a bad multiple, right?
Yeah.
And it was in the relationship and dating niche, right? Very lucrative. And it was 25K. It was getting about 30K traffic, right? For in the dating niche, that's pretty good. You can make a lot more money there. So I bought that, and it's now earning $8,000, right, in 1 year. So there's these, so that I could not have found on a platform like Empire Flip or the typical brokerages, because people like us would fine tune that to make it to like 6K and then sell that for a 30x multiple.
Right.
And that's out of my budget range, right? I can take that 6K and make it 2K more, 8K, because I have these tactics that I
Hmm.
use, right? So it just depends on where you're looking for opportunity. However, I love Motion Invest because you have lower price sites. So I used to buy websites from Empire Flippers back in the day when they first launched for $5,000 or
Right.
$10,000. I was one
Yes.
of their early buyers, right? So, and then now they have kind of peaked. The minimum is like 50K, and that's out of my budget range. But when I Motion Invest is great because you can get a site for less than 10K, and those are the ones where small tweaks can get you a large return, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, so I look at Motion Invest, look at Flippa if you're a beginner, and figure it out. But I do recommend beginners to build their own sites from scratch, learn, and then invest, right? You can't, it's not just buy and then forget. This is not a passive game. You have to take care of your website, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. And so to go back to content a little bit, you talked about, one of your sites you started out, you were adding like 100 articles a month, and now you're
Yeah.
maybe 50 articles a month.
Yeah.
What kind of prices are you able to get to be able to add that
Yeah.
much content? And do you have like a
Yeah.
full, is it pretty hands off after you find keywords? You have a full process in place?
Yes. So content wise, you could say I've gotten lucky, but I like to find writers on Upwork. So I focus on Upwork, to find niche experts or people who like the topic. It's not just the writing for the sake of writing, right?
Hmm.
And what I like to structure the deal with them is I will pay you $30 fixed per article, $30 to $40 fixed per article. No word count limit. I don't like to say to a writer, write me 1,000 word article or a 3,000, because that takes away creativity and it makes them put fluff content in it, right? So I
Yeah.
said, look, on average, your content will be 2,000 words. Some of them might be 1,000, some of them might be 2,500, but I'll give you $30 and I'll give you constant work. And so you don't have to keep looking, right? So some people like that, and some
Hmm.
people who know that some people may not like that. So that's fine. I'm looking for the ones that do. And so I have it fixed and I give them the content. I don't, and these, some of the experts like to have a content outline, some don't. So it depends on who's who. I do the keyword research, and I just give them the article title essentially, and they write the content and I pay them, and it works out. And some of them I have upgraded their pay to $40 or 45, depending on how much results they're bringing me. But
Right.
paying per word is a distance. It's a weird way to do things, in my opinion, because when you're paying per word, it incentivizes the writer to add more words, right? And if I'm publishing 50 or 100, I don't have time to read every single one. I'm sort of trusting my writer to be a partner in my business,
Right.
right? To work with me. I will give them bonuses. I do give them holiday bonuses. I give them all these different perks that an employee would get, just not health insurance, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's my structure.
And so where are these writers typically located? I know you go to Upwork. Are these, in the
US based?
They are US based.
Yeah, surprisingly, I know.
Okay.
I have 4 writers right now, US based, that are writing. One of them is about 25 articles. The rest are about the remaining 25 articles, all US based, writing for me. I know it's hard to grasp that I'm getting quality content from experts at that cost, but so that's what my sprint, right? I spend a week or 2 putting out Upwork. I'm going through every single person, right, and reviewing them. I probably get about 50 applicants. I'm reviewing every single one. I do a paid trial article with them, so I give them a trial, I give them instructions, write it, I pay them, and then out of maybe 15 people I trial, I pick one, and then I have churn as well, right? So over time, that one I lose, but I kind of get all the value from them over the first 1 or 2 months. So I hire maybe 5 to 10 writers, and I keep 2 after 6 months because they leave, right? But those 2 become so critical to my team that because what I'm doing is a vertical play, right? I will acquire other sites in the same niche. So those 2 writers can just keep writing for those websites, right? And just so I'm building those relationships. Honestly, if this is somebody who's doing this, if they don't have a process like me, this can get frustrating because the writers will leave and then they'll be left with no content. So that's why I do backfill some of it with agency content, just to get some content out there. But it depends on what my writer's availability is, because I'm not hiring them full time. They have their own thing going, right? So there's different ways to do this, but that's my process.
Yeah. So at $30 to $40 an article, if you're putting out $100 or 100 articles in a month, you're spending $3,000 to $4,000.
Oh, yeah.
And that's very cost effective, for listeners that maybe aren't producing as much content. That's very cost effective way to get content. So great tip is for that as well. I also like to not hire my authors per word, but I've done more hourly basis. But I can also see a flaw in that, because then they may just say they want to spend a lot of time on a 1,000-word article, right? So there's certainly, I can see some benefits to just saying, here's the fixed price, make it, whatever length it needs to be to answer the query.
Yep, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very good. So what's next for you, and what's sort of your plans in the future?
So, my focus now is my portfolio of sites. I don't manage a large portfolio. It's 5 sites, but they're big sites. And so the verticals, I want to dominate those over time and see if I can exit to a bigger brand, right? And then my newsletter, I enjoy that. I personally never wrote an article for my own websites, my portfolio sites. I don't like writing, but for writing about website investing, I love that, right? I'm on that daily.
You're more passionate about it,
yeah. So I didn't know that until I started. So that's been taking up a lot of time in my portfolio sites, and just growing relationships and doing bigger and bigger deals. So I've been buying sites less than 50,000, but I've been approached by a lot of investors that want to buy sites for 200,000, 300,000, right? And so seeing how we can work together. I don't like to be an operator of sites, more of a semi-operator with an investor, because I like to manage rather than do the day-to-day. So there's different ways we can build a fund or some sort of a investment structure where all these parties can play, and everybody can benefit, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the space with investors and operators and just opportunity in general. So if people want to check out your newsletter, where should they go?
So it's the website flip.com/letter, LETTER. So that's where you can read all my case studies. I also have an article on there that if anybody wants to see, the timeline between a website flip, what are the different stages and all the transactions I have done. I have like a spreadsheet there where you can look at all of it, all the data, and when the sale happened, how much it was earning, and how much I exited for. It's all there if someone wants to do the analysis and see if it's a lucrative thing they can do. So I share all of those details. Yeah.
Perfect. So people can check that out. And then also if they want to see EasyWins, I've got a special link right now where they can get a deal. They can go to nichepursuits.com/EasyWins, and that'll get them sort of a discounted price on access to the EasyWins list that you have. So very good. Mushfiq, it's great having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Really loved having you walk through Own the Yard and giving me some advice. So I've got some work to do now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks again.